Hello, it's Mr. Turek, and today we're going to do something kind of fun. We're going to do a face swap. I have an image of my younger brother and his wife. They just got married, and I think it'd be kind of funny if we swapped their faces. So I'm going to have a little fun with that. So make sure you know where your file is. I have it in this Faceswap folder, and then open Photoshop. Again, go down to the Start menu, click on Photoshop, or click on the shortcut icon. And instead of creating a new file, you're going to open an existing file. So I'm going to open that file of my brother and his wife. So we're going to click Open. And then we're going to navigate to that folder. Okay, one more. Faceswap. And here it is, Mike and Allie. So I'm going to click on that file. I'm going to click Open. All right, when your file opens, it's going to open to the dimensions of that file. So one way you can kind of tell your resolution and the size of your file is you could look at the ruler, or you could go up to Image, Image Size. What that's going to tell you is that's going to tell you the resolution of your image and how many pixels per inch there is. So this is actually a really small image, which is okay for this assignment, but it's about 900 by 500 pixels. It's not very large. It's at a 72 ppi, which is kind of common for internet images, and that's where I got it from. So just click OK after you check that. So we're going to use one of the harder selection tools to make our selection, but that's because we're kind of doing a pretty simple selection today. So we're actually going to use the lasso tool, and the lasso tool is the third tool down. Hover over there, click on the lasso tool, and we're going to go over to our image. And the way the lasso tool works is pretty simple. You just click and drag to make your selection. So I'm going to click and drag around Allie's face here. Okay, nice and careful. Go real slow over here. And I want to go back to the start, hence the name lasso tool, and then I'm going to let go near the start. And that's going to make sure that my selection that I drew is the shape I want it to be. If you mess up, like let's say, I don't really like this edge right here. If you mess up, just hit Ctrl+D and then try again. Okay? You can have as many tries as you want. There's no perfect way to do it though. And just get kind of a basic selection of the face that you want to copy. One quick thing, you know it's selected when you see these marching ants, okay? The marching ants are this animated black and white line, and anytime there's an active selection, anything you do to your document or these pixels only affects what's inside of this selection area. So if you're having trouble, hit Ctrl+D to deselect and make sure that you're not working within a selection. It's a common mistake for beginners to sort of like forget there's a selection active in their file and then be wondering out loud like, hey, why isn't anything working? Chances are you have a selection that's really, really tiny and you just can't see it. So hit Ctrl+D to deselect those pixels if you're having trouble. All right, so now we're going to copy our pixels. The way to do that through the menu is we're going to go to Edit, Copy, and then Edit, Paste. You should know the shortcut keys from other programs. Ctrl+C is copy, and Ctrl+V is paste. So that's actually what I'm going to use instead of the menu command. So I'm going to hit Ctrl+C and then Ctrl+V. And that's going to copy my image. And we can't tell that it's copied because it's right on top of my background layer. So now we're going to switch to our move layer and we're going to move this copied layer around. Okay, so to switch to the move tool, I can go to my move tool in my toolbox and click on it. And I'm going to make sure that that copied layer is the active layer. Again, I made a selection and I hit Ctrl+C and then Ctrl+V to copy and paste it. And now I can use my move tool to move that layer over to my other person. And we can kind of adjust it and transform it. We have kind of a problem here. This face needs to be flipped. So to flip this face, first things first, we're going to confirm this transformation. And then while this layer is still active, we're going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal. Okay, and what this is going to do is it's going to flip it along the horizontal axis. And so now I can go and I can continue to transform it. I can rotate it. Maybe it needs to be a little bit bigger, so I'm going to hold down the Shift key and just make it a little bit bigger. Kind of position it how we want it. There we go. That lines up. That lines up pretty good. When you're happy with the transformation, okay, you can just hit the check mark. You can double click on your image or you can hit enter. I'm going to double click. All right. And now what we're going to do is we're going to use the eraser tool to sort of refine our image and make our edges a bit softer. All right, so to switch to the eraser tool, we're going to go to our toolbox. The eraser tool is kind of in the middle. You can also hit the E key. Just click on the eraser tool. And you're going to make it kind of smallish. So we're going to turn down the size of the eraser tool in the options bar here. Okay, just hover over your document to see how big it is. Make it a little bit smaller. Okay, we're also going to make sure it's nice and soft. So we're going to turn the hardness from 25%, we're going to just turn it down to about 0%. And that's just going to make it real soft because we don't want hard edges. Okay, so now we're going to go over to our image and we're going to zoom in. So we're going to hold down Control and I'm going to use the scroll wheel on my mouse here to kind of zoom in here. Hold down the Alt key, sorry, I forgot that. I'm going to use the space bar to kind of toggle to my hand tool and click and drag. I can also use the Ctrl- and Ctrl+ to zoom in and zoom out. Okay. Make sure the layer that you want to erase is active. Okay, and that's the face that we copied. So I'm going to click and drag on the edges here and kind of gently erase some of the edge of my image here. Don't worry if it's not perfect. All right, let's say I messed up. Let's say I erased too much of something and I want to go back in my history, like, whoops, I erased too much of the lip here. Your history panel is over here. Go back to your history panel, click on it, and then every single move you've made is in your history panel. So you can go back a couple steps and restore all your eraser moves. You can also hit Ctrl+Z to go back one step. And you can hit Ctrl+Alt+Z to go back steps in your history panel. Alright, so I'm done erasing the edges of my image, but I still have some stuff that I need to cover up. Mike's mustache is kind of showing through over here. So we're going to use a different tool for that. We're going to switch to our stamp tool. And the stamp tool's got a couple extra steps to it. So the stamp tool is over here in the toolbox, or hit the S key on your keyboard. And the stamp tool behaves just like the eraser tool, so you can go up to the options bar here and we can make it just a little bit smaller for our purposes. We're about the same size as the eraser tool. And the way to use the stamp tool is pretty simple. You're going to hold down the Alt key to create a sample. So notice how the cursor changes to this little crosshair. So we're going to hold down the Alt key, and we're going to sample up here, and we're going to use this to paint down here. So hold down the Alt key, click once with your left mouse tool, and then click and drag to paint with that sample. Okay. And all we're doing is we're taking this sample up here and we're painting it down here. You'll notice in my option bar my opacity is set at 50%. Let's turn it up to 100% so that the sample we're painting covers 100% of what we want. And let's actually sample some of this up here, and we'll use it to paint down there. Use some of that cheek. There we go. And that's how the stamp tool works. Essentially, you're sampling one part of your image, and you're using it to paint another part of your image. All right, so let's say you have multiple, God, that's so ridiculous looking. Let's say you have, let's say you have multiple faces in your image, and you want to copy the same face onto every single person. It's pretty easy to do that. You can do it one of two ways. You can go to your layer panel, and you can click and drag your layer down to the new layer button, and that will copy your layer. So now I have a copy of that layer. You can also copy the pixels. So you can hold down the Control key in your layer panel and click on the thumbnail, and that's just going to select the pixels in that layer. And that allows you to go Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, and that is how you can copy another layer as well. So that's two different ways you can kind of copy your face so that you can have extra faces to mess with. And just have fun with this assignment. It's not super serious, but it will show you some basic selection techniques and some basic copy and paste techniques, and it'll force you to sort of manage your layers intelligently.